Good evening, everybody. Brief moment of silence there as we dedicate this episode of the Same Old Arsenal USA to the late Claude Caligari. You guys all know who Claude was. AFTV, Claude and the Banstas, just really a pioneer of what we're doing here. I can genuinely say that if it weren't for Claude, I don't know that a lot of us, not just us here at the show, but a lot of folks that do this would be doing what we're doing right now. So tonight we are going to dedicate this episode of the Same Old Arsenal USA to Claude's memory. I say we brief moment of silence there. I'm going to turn it over to Stan. Now I'm going to bring Stan in. Stan, of the four of us, probably. Stan, you knew him best. You did shows with him on Claude and the Banstas, with Claude and Terry and Diesel. Just give us some words, some thoughts, and the floor is yours, my friend.
It's surreal, really, because like everybody else, I mean, I sort of knew Claude before I knew Claude, right? You know, when I was living back in Europe, in Amsterdam, and watching AFTV for the first time when I first discovered it, it was Claude was one of the main reasons why I went back to it again to see what else was going on there. And I mean, some of his interviews with Ty for me are legendary. I mean, if you're from the UK, I mean, it's, you know, you'll know they have a great comedy duo, Morecambe and Wise. You know, very funny, and those two together, it was a great mix. About a year ago, I was quite lucky enough through Terry. A friend of mine over at Claude and the Banstas started to invite me onto their channel. And for me personally, I think the fondest memory that I have, me and Terry were started doing a late night show called Dawn Till Dusk. And then one of the shows, just at the last minute, Terry couldn't make it. So Claude said, I'll do the show with Stan. And I remember going over to my missus and going, I'm doing a show on my own with Claude. And it was a lovely conversation. We spoke for just over an hour, and we just spoke about some of our memories about Arsenal with some of our favourite players. We spoke about Dennis Bergkamp. We spoke about FA Cups we remembered, penalty misses, Palmer, Nicolas Anelka, the state of Arsenal. We even touched on a little bit of, I think, when it was the COVID thing was just first sort of like coming out as well. So I watched it back off when I heard the news about his passing, and it was a good memory for me. And you know, he always made me feel welcome on the channel, and I miss him. It's a shame that he's not going to be around anymore, you know.
Yeah, it is a shame. Gone far too soon. And Claude, I mean, just Arsenal through and through. I mean, you watch the videos of him. And you didn't have to agree with everything he said. You don't have to agree with everything that anybody says, you know. But there's no need. I'm just going to say this real quick. I mean, the abuse that he took at the end of you know his tenure here just was unbelievable. Just unbelievable. Nobody should have to endure that. We could do a whole show on that topic. We really could, and one of these days we're going to. But yeah, I never took the opportunity, and I had the opportunity, and I will regret this till the day that I die, not speaking to Claude, because I've spoken with people since his passing who have said that he absolutely would have loved to have chatted with me, you know, and just getting an American perspective and you know, things like that on Arsenal Football Club, and he would have been excited to chat with me, and it was just the kind of thing that everybody else was around him. You know, he was just such a larger than life figure outside the Emirates Stadium after matches, and you know, all these people would just flock to him before his appearance on AFTV, after his appearance on AFTV. You know, so I sat back. I didn't want to, you know, contribute to all that mayhem. But I will regret not at least going up, shaking his hand, and you know, introducing myself and having a brief conversation with him. So, Claude, hopefully you're watching us tonight. We're going to try to do you proud, man, and we'll miss you, bud. We'll miss you. And with that in mind, we do need to keep the lights on. Hopefully, once I play the Beard Company spot, Ryan's camera will actually start working.
West Cork Beard Company make beard oil and beard balm for a strong, healthy, great-looking beard. Handmade from all natural ingredients in Clonakilty, West Cork. Check out their YouTube channel for beard care tips and advice, or catch them online at westcorkbeardcompany.ie.
So I guess the payment takes a little bit of time to actually process and go through, but I think we'll get Ryan's camera up and running here shortly after playing the beard spot. So, gentlemen, I'm going to start with Rohan. I know you're not feeling that well tonight, brother. But how are things otherwise?
Well, I mean, it's been an eventful weekend, right? And there's just so many thoughts. We waited for this game for 2 weeks. International break is always a bummer. And then we got back in and absolutely, devastated. Limp performance by the Arsenal. By the team, really. Nobody really stood up for the badge. And that includes every single player who played there and the manager. Everybody is to blame there. In my opinion, there's no person who could go out of there and keep their head held high. We've conceded 6 in the last 2 games, and so I had to get my thoughts in. So even though I'm not well, I've sort of jumped in to at least converse with you guys. This is a therapy session as we know it, and just try to provide some of the thoughts and unwind.
Yeah, we'll get you in here, get it, get you in, let you get your thoughts, and then we'll let you get to bed and get some rest in, and hopefully get to feeling a little bit better. So, Stan, sir, it's been a tough week. I know that. But how are things otherwise? We're doing all right?
Yeah, not bad, mate. It's all good over here in Vancouver. Got some nice weather. Evening to everybody in the chat box. But wow, I mean, that game, man. I mean, funny enough, going into that game, I think it was an Arsenal fan circle when they asked for predictions. I actually felt that we could get something out of that game. I don't think it's one of the best Liverpool teams that I've seen. And I really thought that we could maybe get something out of that game. I thought we could maybe even get away with all 3 points. But I mean, I disagree a little bit to Rohan in the way that I've seen us play worse than that, and I didn't get the feeling that it was one of those ones where people were just strolling around, looking inept. I think they were trying. I just think that they didn't really know what it was that they were trying to do. And just kind of a little bit all over the place. The pressing was only really happening from the front of the team. Nobody else was willing to help to join in. So I would have just sacked that off. I think if no one else is going to help, then sack it off, because you're just creating a load of space in behind yourselves, really. But, my come away from the game is that when you think of our front line, when you think that there's over £180 million worth of equipment right there, it's really hard to believe that, right? When you see the discombobulation of it all, and I'm sure we're going to get onto players and a little bit more later, but I said it for the last three podcasts now about inconsistency. There you go. I mean, that is our biggest enemy, man. Inconsistency. I don't know how you fix it. Obviously, Mikel Arteta doesn't know how to fix it.
We'll get into that. We'll get into that in a little bit. I was thinking earlier today, what do we want to talk about? Do we want to keep things, structured and things like that? But I think this is, like Rohan said, it's going to be a bit of a therapy session. And see, I told you, it just took a few minutes for the payment to process. So Ryan's camera is now working. Thankfully, his is the only camera that ever doesn't work. Now his camera was working. He was, well, we're not going to talk about what Ryan was doing when his camera's off, but good to see you, brother. How are you?
Gotta pay a little extra to figure that one out. Good. I don't know. I'm not as upset as everybody else is. I mean, I don't think we played that bad either. I agree with Stan. I think we just didn't have the right plan. I think our manager is stubborn. I think that he just tries to just plug what he just tries to play certain players that don't like. To me, Aubameyang and Lacazette should never play together. And Aubameyang should only play center forward for us. I mean, he just tries to deviate from I don't want to say the plan because he's a manager. He has a plan, but he just tries to deviate from like what works. And I mean, something's up when you have me saying we were missing Jacques and Luis. So, I mean, we'll get into it, but we're just not that good. I don't think people don't understand this. It's like weird. I feel like I'm flip flopping. Like I don't think we played that bad. I think we actually kept Liverpool pretty solid for a half. They had to make a tactical change to really get at us. But it's just I'm not surprised. I predicted on our prediction show that we would lose, so I'm not surprised. And everyone's I don't know. I this is where I disagree with it. Where I'm the idiot. Like always, I don't think the Liverpool team was that bad. Everyone's like, "Oh, it's the worst Liverpool team in years." I mean, give what? Their center backs. Besides the center backs, I think they had a really strong team. They had the normal front three: Thiago, who's the other guy? Fabinho. Milner's always solid. Like to me, Milner is probably. I won't go that far, but Milner's probably there El Neni, where he's not going to really fuck up. But he puts a job in. He's solid. He's a leader. He's a captain. And Lenny's not a captain. I know that. But he's just that guy that'll just put a 6, 7 out of 10. And then, you have Robertson and Alexander-Arnold. And we'll get into it. But my beer of the week is One More Again. It's like a really cool monster on it. From Hoof-Hearted Brewing in Ohio. Because it's, again, same conversation. Do we blame Arteta? Do we blame the players? Like, what are we doing here? It's just the same thing. It's one more time. We're gonna go through this again. One more again.
One more once. One more again. I like that's good. I like that. Yeah. So the question that has been eating at me now for 3 days, for the three of you, and Rohan, I'm going to start with you. Is I think we're all in agreement. I'll put it. Let me start here. Does anybody put all of the blame at one foot or the other, meaning Arteta or the players? I would think we're all in agreement that they all have to share the blame here. So, Rohan, my question to you is it 50-50? Do you blame both equally, or do you blame one entity more than the other here, with be it Arteta, be it the players?
Okay, when the team doesn't perform, it's the manager's head that's on the line, right? Like that's how it works. You can't, and I think that we will say that there's a clear out, this is not Arteta's team, but just look at it, people who are playing now, he persists with playing Aubameyang, and I'm going to start with him, right? Who had a limp performance. I agree with Ryan that there's no point in playing him on the left, right? But Arteta persists with that. I said this a couple of podcasts ago that Lacazette is in form. You either play him as center forward and keep Aubameyang on the bench, or you play Aubameyang and get Lacazette on later, right? The whole resurgence that we had for our season was based on high energy by the youngsters, right? When Martinelli came on, I think there was one time that he chased down the keeper, and I thought that he was going to make something out of it, right? But that was not evident. And, it's two things for me, right? Like, one is you talk about our team and whether it is bad, which it is bad. But, Aubameyang, Arteta has given him a new contract. Holding, Arteta has given him a new contract. At one point, he was supposed to leave, and now he's been given a new contract, and he's got done twice against City and against Liverpool by guys who are much shorter than him. Right? There's so many of these players who Arteta has backed and continuously plays. So there is some amount of blame on him. But even on the players, they didn't really prove themselves. Like the Liverpool team won. I mean, I kind of disagree with what Ryan's saying about it's just the centre backs that are missing, because that was the missing piece in them winning the Premier League, in them winning the Champions League, not having that centre back pairing. They don't even have the experience of Henderson or Fabinho in defense. It's youngsters. Those guys needed to be there. Trent Alexander-Arnold had been axed from the England team because he's not in form. Today he got done again and again. I'm sure you guys saw the Real Madrid game. He got done for the first and the second goal, and we didn't target him. Aubameyang played on that side. He didn't target him. We didn't have a plan. Odegaard was out of the game. I don't think he touched the ball. I don't remember him touching the ball. Every time he got it, he had to pass it back. This Liverpool team, we gave them so much respect. We were confused whether we should play out from the back, whether we should play it long. You can play it long. Real Madrid played it long today. They scored goals with that. But our playing it long was just hoofing it forward so that it comes back to us. And who has to take that blame, right? To me it was it was damning. The game was abysmal, and like Klopp has said, this for me now, the next 8 games are sort of on paper, except for one Chelsea game, this on paper easier games. This is when he should be looking at the squad and finding out what is the best pairing, what is his best 11, what are the the areas that he needs to target. All of this needs to get done quickly. We're a season and a half into Arteta's reign, and he doesn't know any of that. So the blame lies with multiple parties here.
To be fair, Rohan, if all 4 of us played in the back line against Arsenal, they wouldn't have scored either. So I get what you're saying, and I agree with it. But we not like it mattered. We didn't challenge them. Like we could have been the back 4. We would have probably kept the clean sheet. So it's difficult. But again, I'm probably gonna keep going. Again, I probably keep going back and forth. I'm not. I guess I'm not happy, but I'm not upset. It's a game. We lost. It happens. I'm not really fazed by it, which is odd. Obviously, we're not where we want to be. Obviously, we've talked about we're turning a corner and we're improving. I still believe that. We didn't turn a corner, but I believe we're getting better. But I don't know. I think people are making a really big deal about this game, and I don't really see that. I don't get it. I don't see why. But I mean, it's their opinion, I guess.
Well, let me go to Stan on the same question. How do you divvy up the blame here?
About 50-50, it's about equal share. For me though, the biggest takeaway is before the game, when I saw that David Luiz and Xhaka weren't in the lineup, I was ecstatic, and for the simple reason was I thought to myself, if we could get something out of this game, maybe it will convince Mikel Arteta that he doesn't have to constantly rely on these 2 individuals. Maybe it will mean that David Luiz might not get a contract extension, for example. Maybe he'll be convinced that he still has to buy someone to partner Thomas Partey, and that Xhaka isn't the man going forward to do it long term. But on the flip side of the coin, I was frightened that exactly what happened. If we came out of this game with a loss, that everybody would say, and Mikel Arteta may be reinforced to believe, that he has to rely on David Luiz and Xhaka, and that they do play a big part of this team going forward. But I just don't buy into that. Both of those players are extremely error prone. Both of them in the team, let alone one of them, is an accident waiting to happen. And I don't understand how we can say, well, who was our second best midfielder after Thomas Partey, which is basically on his rep so far because he hasn't played like our best midfielder at the moment up to this point. But they say it's Granit Xhaka. And my answer to that is that we're going to pick a player that has the most forced errors that have led to the goal in the Premier League, i.e. 8. We ain't got any other players in our squad that have that record. So how is he our best second midfielder with that kind of a record? I just don't buy into it. David Luiz as well. He also has a record of something like the most, what was it? It was sending offs in a part of the season. Or
Penalties.
something like penalties, giving away penalties. It's ridiculous. And I honestly don't believe that we would have somehow miraculously come out of it better with those two in the squad. Maybe we would, maybe we wouldn't have. But that's not me flip-flopping. That's because they're inconsistent. And inconsistency is what's killing us. Yeah. So for me, I'm glad David Luiz is out for the rest of the season. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I'm glad he's hurt. I'm just glad that we're going to have to look elsewhere and try to depend elsewhere moving forward, because I think that's what we should be doing next season anyway. We should not be offering him another contract next season. This should be the end of it. Let's find out. I'd rather give his minutes now to somebody else. Can somebody else find a bit of form? Is there somebody else that we can take a look at in a run of games? That's what I would rather do.
I mean, it would be Rob Holding, wouldn't it? And what did Rob Holding do to lose his starting role?
Well, for me, I've been trying to look at what I think the problem is, and I've come down to the conclusion, and I touched on this in the last time that we were all together. We're on our third manager, if you count Freddie, since Wenger. So there's been a change in mindset and philosophy. The only one constant are the players that are here since Wenger. So you're looking at Aubameyang, Lacazette, Hector Bellerin, Granit Xhaka, Callum Chambers, Rob Holding, El Neni as well. You could even throw in there. Are any of those players consistent? Do they show you consistency? And if you throw Willian and David Luiz into that mix, those group of players, all of them are what I would call part of the leadership team in Arsenal, just because of the length of time that they've been at the club. So if they're the problem because of this malaise is still there from the old ways, my worry is that this leadership team are gradually rubbing off onto some of the newer arrivals that we're pinning our hopes on. And for me, until all of those people that I have just mentioned, every single one of them are out of the club, it will never be a total rebuild, because they're the one constant. They are the one constant. And if you add, as I say, a Willian and a David Luiz to that group, these are not the kind of profiles of player that we should be looking at. And when I hear talks about Sergio Aguero, for me, that just sounds like another player rolling up. He's going to get handed a nice white pluff, comfy dressing gown and matching slippers, and is going to be shown to a recliner by the jacuzzi where his drinks will be brought to him, and he'll high-five it with Luis and Willian and all of these other players that have been around for far too long. They've all got to go. And I'll have to say as well, looking at the manager side of it, that's the players. But looking on the manager side of it, he's got a huge can to carry here, because if you're going to sanction the amount of money that he did for Aubameyang, that's the sort of money you lay out when you're planning to build around someone. Not shoehorn him in here, not shoehorn him in there. He's supposed to be a golden boot quality striker, and the man was almost playing at left wing back. This is just not good enough. You either play him through the middle or you don't play him at all. You don't fit him in to try and appease people. That's not the right way. There are so many players that we can have playing that left-hand side who are better equipped to play that position. I'm not saying they might be better than Aubameyang, but for that role and what their duties are and the way that Mikel's trying to set up the team to work with the fullbacks, we have better players that are equipped. That's on the manager, and that's bullshit, man. I mean, he literally walks around with a shoehorn to try and ease these players in, and I'm getting tired of it, man. I'm tired of it. You play.
So Stan, I just want to we keep going back to the club needs restructuring because these players are from Wenger's time, but it's been it's been 3 seasons now since Wenger's gone. A lot of these players had run out of their contract and they've been handed contracts by Arteta, or they've been brought in by Arteta. So like, I think it's time that we let go of this idea that until the players change, because they are Wenger's players, nothing is going to change. Mentality isn't going to
I
change.
have to
Because
disagree,
it's the
Rohan.
manager, isn't it?
No, I have to disagree there, because I'm looking at what the constant is. And the reason Wenger went was because we were no longer able to get results against teams that we should have been able to get results against. He had to go. But since Wenger, we're on our third manager, if you count Freddie's little go. So the philosophy has changed. We're not still on the same mindset as Wenger. We've got different people in now who look at the game differently. But if we're still suffering and if we're still making the same mistakes, which I believe that we are, the only constant for me, that one constant, are that group of players that I've named. They're still here.
I agree, Stan, that the players probably aren't good enough. I'm sorry. Like, I agree that the players aren't good enough. But what I'm trying to say is that we can't brand them as some other managers' players anymore. These are Arteta's players, a lot of them. Like Pepe is probably.
But they're the wrong players. That's the thing. They were brought in by the wrong people. They're part of the old guard. Do you know what I mean? And because of their age and their stature in the club, they're the ones now that these youngsters are looking towards. They're looking towards them for guidance. And you got the captain. You can't even get to the North London derby on time. I mean, do me a favour, man. I mean, I could go on. I'm just picking that one out of the air, right? They're looking at the leadership model, and they roll up to the North London derby late. Do you know what I mean? Another one decides that during lockdown, he's going to fly off to Dubai to go and eat in his pal's restaurant. I mean, it's just ridiculous, man. And if you are, Arteta's played himself into a cul-de-sac, right? Because he already, and rightly or wrongly, and I believe rightly, he already throws out the club's highest paid player in Mesut Ozil. It didn't pan out. We didn't get any service out of him. I agreed that he should have been on the bench, by the way, but he did that. Now he seems to have a problem with the club's highest paid player, and he's got to tread very carefully where he goes with this, because if you're the owner, if you're the guy that's paying the bills, you're going to be knocking on the manager's door and saying, "Hold on a minute, mate. Do you know what I mean? What's the deal here? You're the one that's asking me to increase these contracts, and we've done that, and now you can't get a tune out of them. This is not the first time." So it's a shambles. But just to round off, Rohan, I really believe that the one constant are those group of players, and they've all got to go. Every damn last one of them. I don't care if it's Holding or Chambers, and I'm quite fond of Chambers, as you know, but they've all got to go now. There has to be a clean sweep, and then perhaps a new mindset can come into these players, and none of this laziness and the way that they obviously are is not going to rub off on the people that we're pinning our futures to. Like the Tierney's of this world, the Martinelli's of this world, the Sakas and the ESRs of this world.
Rowan, are you good to stick around for a little longer, or how you feeling?
I'll do another 5 minutes and then I'll bail. Yeah.
So, well, I want to get Ryan in here real quick, and then Rowan, I'll circle back to you to get a final word from you here. But Ryan, give me your thoughts on the original question. How are you divvying up blame here? Are you 50-50 like Stan? Are you laying it at the feet more of the players, more at the feet of Arteta?
To me, it's a constant cycle. The players aren't good enough, but Arteta picks these players. He puts them in positions that don't benefit the team. We play a style that doesn't benefit the team. It's on him. But I mean, I don't know. I feel like if he asks me this question in 5 minutes, I'll blame Arteta more. I just
like the weather. Wait 5 minutes, it'll change, right?
Yeah, I don't know, because these players aren't good enough, and I think I think we could get more out of them, but we have players like Aubameyang, Lacazette for a little bit, players that just go out of form, and relying on youngsters is not always the safe thing. You want a balance, and I think the club tried to do that. I.e. Willian, Luis, even for example, and I hate bringing this name up, but when we bought Lichtensteiner, he was yeah. Stan Feston. We bought him. We bought him because he's a very defensive-minded right back, and at the time we didn't really have any true defensive. We had Bellerin, and we know how defensive he is. So it's almost like we're buying coaches, but we give them shirts to play, and I don't really understand it. The one thing I will disagree on with Stan was I actually like David Luiz. He's in a way, I agree he is ticking time bomb, but I hate to say it, and I know people will go at me because I'll be like, "Oh no, you're wrong. It's Gabriel." I think David Luiz is our best defender this season. He offers us more. I know. I'm shocked I'm even saying it right now. He offers us just so much as a style, as an attacking style, a playing style, a formation, tactics. He just offers us the most out of any center back that we have on our team. I mean, has he made mistakes? Yeah. I mean, but when he's not making mistakes, he's one of our better players. I want to say no. I want to be like Bennett with Xhaka, but his range of passing, his vision. There's games where he quarterbacks our team, which is pathetic and sad because he's a center back. But I don't know. Going back to the original question, I really don't know if I don't know if I can give you like an actual like number or an answer because it's a circle because the players aren't good, but Arteta picks these players. He plays them in a formation. Now, I kind of go back to my whole thing that I've been kind of preaching for a while is I don't think Arteta gives a crap about these players. Some of them aren't his players. I think he's just going to play his style and show the world, show players that he wants to bring in. Hey, this is what I'm going to play. Obviously, we're in 10th. We're not playing well. But if I bring you over, you'll change that because this is my plan. This is what I want to do. Granted, there's games that we played where I don't know what we're doing. I don't know what Arteta has these guys doing. But I just think he doesn't care. I just think he's going to use the Premier League as just a way to kind of be like, I'm going to just force my play style down these players' throats. And if they buy in, if they can compete, love you, Mike Hurst. Then keep him. Maybe it's a bench player, but if they don't want to adapt, if they don't want to ship up, then ship out. And everyone, for example, everyone's getting on Nenny like, oh, if we're offering him a contract, how far we've fallen. He's a perfect squad. I'll die on this hill, sprawled out doing snow angels.
I'll be right there with you.
He's a perfect squad player. I don't expect him to be in the 11 ever, starting 11, really ever. But he's a perfect squad player. He does a job. He's that release valve. He's really good in a midfield he's really good against teams that like to pressure. He's really good at that. Xhaka is not. He'll foul. He'll pull. He'll flop. He'll get. He'll get.
He's not athletic enough to do the job.
Yeah. So we do need these type of players. Granted, if we're going to give Elneny like a raise, like double his wages, then obviously I'm not agreeing with that. And, to an extent, you also want to protect your assets. You want to protect some players and maybe re-sign them and sell them. But, you're not selling David Luiz. I mean, that's not going to happen. But I think someone like an Elneny giving him a contract isn't a bad idea. I think holding, I don't think it was a bad idea because let's face it, we don't know what's going to happen with this Saliba thing. I would like to think he's going to play for us next season, but Arteta might not like him. Or Saliba might just be like, you're not going to play me? Fuck you. I'm out. I'm not going to play for you. So you just got to cover your bases and do what you got to do. But it's to me, it's a game by game basis on who you got to blame because it's just I don't know. But I'm going to support Arteta. So I think he'll get the players he wants.
Rohan, let's get you back in here real quick. Let me ask you one question, and then give me your final thought here for the evening before you duck out. Would you consider a youth movement? Maybe not now. I think this season is. I think you've got to. I hate to say you got to maybe kind of stick with. Maybe you got to dance with the date that brought you at this point of the season. But would you be in favor of a massive youth movement for next season?
But like, how many seasons are we just going to throw away experimenting, right? Like, managers come in and then they get a new manager bounce right away. We granted that we did get the FA Cup, and that was like all happy. But since then, he's had his transfer windows. He's brought in players. He's retained players. He seems to be stubborn with the way that he plays. Sometimes the players don't follow the instructions, as Lacazette said in the last game. How is the ownership going to trust him and give him money? And for how long are we going to like slip? We used to be fighting for the title. Then it was top 4, 4th, outside top 4 Europa League. Now it's been 2 seasons continuously. We're 8th and 10th, right? Like, for how long are we going to put up with this, right? So, and I think that yes, players are, Rahul said this on the chat, right? Like, when Wenger was there, I used to feel like we were a couple of players. Like, this is what the comment said, and I agree with it. Like, I also felt that we were a couple of players away from being a good team. Now we just look like an average team. We don't look like potential to play in the Champions League. We don't look like we are hungry. Our players don't turn up. We are okay to say that, because they played on Thursday, they won't play on this the weekend. We rely on youngsters. We're okay with, there's differential treatment. The club is a mess. And from now on, I would say, all the eggs are in one basket, which is the Europa League, right? And we have to do whatever we have to do in the Europa League. The rest of the 8 games, like Klopp said, it's a mini season. He's got to pull us up. I want points. I want to see a pattern. I want to see him being flexible. Not just stick to the same players, shoehorn them, try to get the same players playing and not getting a result and then coming out and giving an interview. We don't need that, right? I had said that we're going to judge him on game week 1 of this season. This season's gone to shit. We've lost 12 Premier League games already. 12 Premier League games, that's the most that we have lost in since the Premier League began. There is a problem that needs to be addressed, and that's the players. But a lot of these players are now Arteta's players for me. So we need to have a long, hard look. But hopefully on Thursday, these guys do something. They cheer us up. That's where we are looking. And then the youth that you're talking about, I want to see that in the weekend. We've got 8 game weeks. That's a lot. That's almost 20% of the season.
Yeah.
You play them, and then you see who are good enough. Whether they can pull us out. Yeah, that's my final thought. And thank you guys. I'm just not doing too well, so I'm gonna have my NyQuil and probably pass out watching you guys give your.
Sounds good, man. Feel better. Take care. We'll chat with you soon, Rohan.
Take it easy, mate.
So Stan, I don't know if you saw the tweet that I put up. I think you did, but I kind of did a thread, and basically it was youth move. Is it so? Think about this real quick. This is brilliant. With Saka and ESR both playing, we've won 7 of 10 matches in the league this season. Without them, we've only won 5 of 20. Think about that. Our reliance on 2 players who are 19 and 21. I think ESR is 21. 21. That's crazy. Think about that. And this is great because it leads into me talking about the thread that I put up on Twitter. To me, it's now one or the other. And I think I've zeroed in on what I think the problem is. For 15 years, maybe 10 years, we as a club, the club have not known what their identity is. What kind of a club do we want to be? Not necessarily, I mean, forget like playing style on the pitch. Just how are we building this club? Are we just throwing money at the problem? Are we that guy who can't change a tire? So we have a blowout, or we come out of our front door in the morning and we've got a flat tire and we don't know how to fix it. So we just throw money at the problem. Or do we fix the problem internally? So do we throw money at it or do we say, or do we go all in on the youth? And I think the biggest problem has been it's half and half, where we've got 1 foot in, we've got 1 foot in each pathway, and we don't know which path to take. And so it's like, well, we want to bring in these players, but we don't want to spend a ton of money bringing in the right players. We want to try to bring the youth through a little bit, but we don't want to go all the way bringing the youth through. So do you agree with that statement? And I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Rohan. Would you be on board with a full-blown youth movement for next season? No. Again, it's just too late to start it this year, I think.
No, you can't have 11. You can't have 11 youngsters.
Let me caveat that real quick. I don't mean all 11. I mean, you've got Thomas Partey. He's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, you got to have some kind of a leadership base of players.
Right. Yeah.
3 or 4 players, that have been around. I just don't want it to be any of the ones that we've currently got. They've had their chance to be a leadership base, and they're fucking pitiful as far as I'm concerned. So I want us to bring in players to help complement the youngsters that we've got. They don't have to come from Real Madrid or Barcelona. They could even come from a team in the Championship. As long as they've got the right age profile, the right kind of mindset, where some of these youngsters are going to learn good habits from. That's what I think is most important. Because was it the West Ham game when they took the quick free kick?
Yeah.
There was that famous still going around of all the players that had their backs turned and weren't paying attention. Most of the players in that picture were the ones that we like.
True.
Yeah. So again, I'm looking at something like that and thinking, where have they picked up that bad habit from? I just don't like I said it earlier. I just don't like our youngsters that we are pinning our hopes on being around members of our leadership base that we have at the moment, because they look like a bunch of mercenaries. Most of them, they play when they want. They don't play when they want. People are keeping saying, let's stop with Aubameyang and play with Lacazette. Why? Lacazette's rubbish. What has Lacazette really done? I mean, he plays behind Martin Odegaard in his positioning. It's not good enough. He scored a penalty 2 games back, and then people say, "Oh, he had a good game. He scored a penalty." He hasn't done nothing, and they're not going to get consistency out of him. And if we don't do something soon, Mikel Arteta is going to be stuck in another cul-de-sac, and he's going to have to end up giving him another contract because he hasn't reacted quick enough to fix the problem. And they've all just got to go. That group of players, they're not good enough. They've had their chance. Let's scrap them and start again with a better leadership model to help guide these young kids through who we're depending so much on.
Ryan, let me ask you this question. You pay attention to the youth more than anybody else on this show does. Would we, and I'm not advocating doing this, but I'm curious as to what you think. Would we get embarrassed next season if we legitimately went with let's say, I mean, Thomas Partey is gonna keep his spot. Kieran Tierney's gonna keep his spot. Gabriel's gonna keep his spot. Bukayo Saka, Emile Smith-Rowe are gonna keep their spots. Everything else is up for grabs. But we go all youth from that point forward. Would we get relegated? Are they good enough to keep us in the Premier League? Are they good enough to keep us in the Premier League for one season?
Trying to gauge. So who is that? So that means academy goalie, right back.
We'll keep Leno in there.
Right back, center back, a midfielder, a striker, and a winger.
So let's say Balogun. Yeah. Let's say we would go to Balogun, give him a new contract, and say, "You're the man. We're selling both Aubameyang and Lacazette. We're going to find a backup striker." But I mean, I'm talking, and I know it sounds crazy, and I'm going to get absolutely blasted for this. And I can see the look on Stan's face. Like, I think I'm giving you a fair amount of anxiety with this right now. But I'm serious when I say that we have to figure out what's the path we want to go down. Can the youth keep us up for 1 year? We ask it, look, okay, here's the deal. You're going into the team, trial by fire. You're playing this entire Premier League season. You have to figure out how to do the job, and then we reevaluate
How many
summers from now.
How many are we talking about in the starting 11 here? Half of them?
Yeah.
6?
Five.
I mean, yeah, 5. So to pair with Gabriel, we're talking either Ballard or Mix. Even know a right back. So I guess, all right. So I don't know that we have a right back coming through. So let's throw Cedric in at right back. We'll keep him in there. Throw Aziz into the mix in the midfield. So Partey, he's more of an attacking mid, isn't he? Ryan?
Aziz,
no?
He can be, but he's got really good defensive qualities. He's like a center mid. He's, I don't know.
Okay, all right. So could you theoretically play Aziz and Partey together, in your opinion? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So Aziz becomes Thomas Partey's partner, and now we have a front four of Emile Smith-Rowe, Bukayo Saka. Need a left winger or a right winger, depending on what side you play Saka on, and you play Balogun through the middle. So maybe you look to bring in a winger, depending on which side you. The way that I'm seeing this, and jump in here at any point in time, guys, because I'll start to ramble on this. This is all that's been on my mind, seriously. For I put this tweet out, and it was a thread, and I mean it. If there were a guarantee that we wouldn't get relegated next year, I would do this. I'm telling you, I would do this. Throw them to the Wolves. Let's see what we've got, and let's reevaluate in the summer. Because I think going out this summer, you either have to tear this whole thing down and rebuild it from scratch by throwing money at the problem, which this club isn't going to do.
No, I don't think you have to throw money at the problem. Let me just read that. I want to read you this tweet out, and I'm going to end it with a question. And I will say who the tweet is from, even though I don't really want to.
Stan, hang on real quick. I'm leaving the cam. I'm turning the camera off. I'll be able to hear you guys. I got to step away for a minute, but I'll be able to hear you. Keep going.
So this is a tweet that I saw from Patrick Timmons. And the tweet says, right, David Moyes returned to West Ham in December 2019. He inherited a side sitting in 17th place, 1 point clear of the relegation zone. 16 months on, they find themselves in the top 4, 8 games remaining. They've spent 35.3 million net in that time. Now that's what you call a rebuild. So the question I have on the back of that is if David Moyes was managing Arsenal, would he be able to get more out of the squad that we have? Would any other manager be able to get more out of the squad that we have? Would another manager, say a David Moyes, have us in a higher league position right now with the squad that we've got? And when I ask myself that question, I think the answer is yes. I think there's a whole host of managers out there who somehow would. I'm not saying that I like all of these players, but I would think that. I think David Moyes, Rafa Benitez in Ian says he'd have us higher up the table with these players. I truly believe that. So is giving money to Mikel Arteta and throwing more money at the problem in the summer, is that going to be the answer? Do you trust his recruitment even?
I do. I agree with you and I disagree with you. So I think there's a host of managers that could have us in a higher position, but I think they would be temporary fixes to our big problem. I think Moyes is a Band-Aid. Arteta is a doctor, the nurses, the anesthesiologist. It's going to take time. It's going to be heavy surgery.
Right, but do you think David Moyes would have us in a higher position in the league now with the amount of time he's had with this squad?
Right now, yes. Long term, no. I think I think we'd be higher up this season because I think he would adapt to the players. Because David Moyes isn't the project. Arteta is a project. Arteta is someone that is bringing his ideas to the club. He's trying to change the club, and he can't change overnight. And I firmly believe that Arteta is. He's stubborn, it could be intentional and unintentional, but I do think he's forcing his tactics, his formations down our throats. And he says, cool, you don't like it? You're not playing up to snuff? Get out of here. And I think he has a full backing of the club. And I said this even when we were like about to be relegated, or we were in like the relegation area. And unless he completely loses the dressing room or is a serious threat, and I don't count this earlier this season as a serious threat, or unless we're a serious threat to get relegated, he's not going anywhere.
Just what you just said there about losing the dressing room. Right? I mean, a few weeks ago, Rohan and maybe someone else was saying that we're getting on Aubameyang's back, right, because he's going for a little bit of form. Right. You know what I've seen, right? How is it, right? When Aubameyang goes off to Gabon on international duty, and you see him meeting up with his teammates and with the team, he's all smiles. He's all smiles and he's happy to be there. He's the Aubameyang that I remember from a season and a half ago. And he goes out there, and what does he do? He gets a goal and he gets an assist. And then you see him when he comes back and plays for Arsenal, he looks like he's got the troubles of the world on his shoulders. He looks depressed, upset, moody, and we're the people that are actually paying him over 300 grand a week. So I'm not sure if Aubameyang is in a bad run of form, because on international duty and at the club, it's like I'm seeing two different people.
Because it is two different people. And I keep saying that this is the Aubameyang problem. Aubameyang is a player of a certain profile, and that profile doesn't fit Mikel Arteta's system at all. He doesn't fit the striker profile that Mikel Arteta wants. He doesn't fit the winger profile that Mikel Arteta wants. So it goes back, Stan, to your point about shoehorning him in. He is in a starting 11 of round holes. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang is a square peg in this team.
Does that mean then that Mikel Arteta, he made a mistake giving a contract to Aubameyang because he didn't have the managerial skill to realise that Aubameyang is not the player that's going to fit into his system?
100, in my opinion, 100%. I think in retrospect, hindsight will always be 2020. But when you look back at last season, and when you look back, and I don't know how much the fan base actually plays into decisions that the club makes. I have to think that the club don't pay attention to this stuff and say we have to sign Aubameyang, otherwise, the peasants are going to mutiny. There will be riots in the streets. They're going to show up with their torches and pitchforks, try to burn the stadium down if we don't keep a hold of him. I would have kept him this year, and I've been saying this for months. I would have kept him this year. I would have just let him run his contract down. I would have just let him run it down. And I would do the same thing with Alex Lacazette next year. It's not always the worst thing in the world to let a player run his contract down and move on from him. At this point, that to me would have been the smartest bit of business that we could have done relative to Aubameyang, because it would have been, we're giving you this year to see if you can fit into the system. Because last year, winning the FA Cup and that run we went on at the end of the year with, I'll say the FA Cup run, with beating City and then even beating Liverpool in the Community Shield, even beating Fulham, we were playing that three at the back, counter-attacking football. And Arteta made a conscious decision to say, okay, I'm now implementing my system, which is, I mean, at this point, it's a 4-2-3-1, but it's possession-based. It's intelligent football, and it's not Aubameyang. Aubameyang doesn't need to be intelligent. He needs to be instinctual.
Isn't there a worry then that if he's made that mistake with Aubameyang, and it seems that it's going to be a costly one financially, is there a worry then that going into the next transfer window, he's going to continue to make that mistake with the personnel that he's going to bring in? How could he have not known that Aubameyang would not fit into his system? It's not like he was before he came to Arsenal. He was at another club on another planet. He was sat across the lines at Manchester City. He knows. He's seen Aubameyang play, right? How did he not know that this guy was not going to fit into his system, and then wed himself to him by giving him such a big contract?
I mean, it's a great question, because I agree with the sentiment that you're putting out there wholeheartedly. I guess the question, am I worried about his recruitment? No. Right now. And Ryan, jump in as soon as I'm done here.
I just want to see in Annan there, that comment kind of, for me, that kind of sums it up.
This one right here.
I think there's a lot to be said in that comment.
Arteta seems comfortable consistently making errors because he's so arrogant. No, I don't buy that. I actually don't agree that he's comfortable. He's not. Well, that's equivalent of. I'm going to be all over the place here with this tonight. I want to go.
Also, one quick thing before I get my next beer, that post-match press conference of the last game, when I was watching that was the first time when I was listening to Mikel Arteta and just looking at his eyes and his face and what he was saying, that I sat there thinking to myself, it's almost like he's realised that maybe this is too big for him. I honestly got that impression from the way, just the tone of his voice. His eyes were so watery. The look on him, it reminded me a little bit of Emery at the end.
I watched it. I didn't see it that way. I saw a guy that was. What I saw was Ryan. Did you see his comments after the match by chance?
No, I didn't.
The look on Arteta's face to me was he was pissed. He was pissed off. To enter Unan's comment, with him being comfortable consistently making errors, I don't buy that. And this is where, to circle back to my original question of where the blame, how I divvy up the blame, I hand a little bit more to the players on this. Because at some point, something has to kick in just self-respect. You're getting run out of your own building. Make no mistake. We got run out of our own building on Sunday or Saturday. And that's not down to the coach. Now, maybe his tactics are wrong. Maybe he didn't set us up properly. But I'm talking effort. I'm talking will. I'm talking desire. And here's what I started watching. When Liverpool scored at halftime, I'm like, we're not winning this game. It's a matter of time. They're going to put it on us because we've got nothing. We're still on break. We were still on the international break. Lone Star Londoner, boom. We were bullied. And you know what we did? We were only too happy to hand them our lunch money. Only to like we wanted to hand them our lunch. We were like, we walked in looking for the bully. Like, where's he at? I can't wait to give him my lunch money today. We got run out of our own building. And at some point, a little pride has to come into play here for the players because Arteta can't go out there and do the job for them. He can only do so much leading up to the game. They're on the field. And at some point, a little bit of pride has to kick in for these guys and say, somebody has to look around and be like, we're getting our asses kicked here. And none of them were winning their individual battles. Not one. Very distinctly remember Alex Lacazette getting the ball with his back to goal, looking for somewhere to go because there were 3 Liverpool players around him. 3 within 4 yards of him. And are you laughing at Mike's comment, Ryan?
Yeah.
I
can totally see Mike just going,
I
packed my own lunch.
Well done,
you ain't
sir.
getting nothing.
Well done. But in the second half, it was 2-0. Lacazette has the ball with 3 Liverpool players around him, and every Arsenal player that could have jumped into the play and lent a little support stood there and watched. Didn't move. Didn't even move. They didn't move away from him. They didn't come to him. They stood and they watched. That's the problem. It's pride in themselves. They don't even have that. Lacazette, for me, if I had to give a man of the match award for an Arsenal player on Saturday, if I had to give one, I'd give it to Lacazette. And the only reason he gets it is the dude, he worked. He tried. Because nobody else out there. And I'm going to throw Kieran Tierney in that mix for as long as he was on the pitch.
I thought Odegaard was trying.
He tried. And those, and again,
he was running, trying to close down balls and stuff, but you know, he couldn't do it all on his own. And you know, as for Dennis Ceballos, I mean,
oh my God,
I mean, I can remember getting slaughtered in his first season at Arsenal when I said that this guy, I don't think is good enough to be a player at Arsenal. And I had people slaughtering me, you know, and he was still getting drunk off of that Burnley game. But he takes far too many touches.
Yeah.
How many touches do you need, man?
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And long-term moving forward, do you know what I mean? I wouldn't even take him on a free, let alone the 20 million that I've heard some of our fans were talking about a couple of months ago. I wouldn't take him on a free. He said, you know why? Because it'd be a waste of a squad place, a valuable squad place for someone else who could probably play a lot better.
Yep. Lone Star, you and I this is a first, man. I don't know that we've ever been on the same page like this ever in all the shows that we've done and that you've been a part of in the chat. Everything you're saying, man, is spot on. That's why I keep putting your comments up here. Every single thing you're saying is spot on. That's the problem. It's not the loss itself. It's the way, it's the manner of the loss. We didn't, even when we were down 1-0, it was like, okay, we lost.
Would you agree, guys, that the team that Mikel Arteta has at his disposal is far better than the team and squad that Unai Emery had?
Ryan? Nobody likes dead air.
No, I'm thinking.
I mean, you got to look at the likes of Tierney coming to. All right, Tierney was there, but you know, bringing Saka in, ESR's getting a lot more play. You know, we brought in Thomas Partey, Gabriel. You've got to say that the team is stronger than what Unai Emery had. You have to say that. Martin Odegaard.
Yeah.
I think it's a strong
team. If the team is far stronger than the one that Unai Emery had, why are we doing worse? Because there's no getting away from it. Apparently, even if you take out the 22 game run that Unai Emery won, right? If you take that out of the equation, right, Mikel Arteta is still doing worse. How does that work?
That's why it took so long to think, because I thought of Guendouzi. I was like, Emery had Guendouzi, so kind of ways. So kind of the same. Again, it goes down to Arteta wants to do what he wants, and it goes back to in your Nan's comment. I agreed with everything until he said he's going nowhere. Well, I guess no. Oh, I just realized I took that wrong. No, so I agree completely with what In Your Net says. He wants to do what he wants to do, and and if they don't want to do it, he's gonna find the players that do it. But quickly going all the way back, because you guys are going back and forth, I didn't want to interrupt. About Aubameyang, he's a different player for Gabon because it's Gabon. They're not good. They're terrible. You're not going to see them in a World Cup. I hate to break it to anyone it's Gabonese or a fan of Gabon. They're not making any World Cup anytime soon. And I think he knows that. And, you know, playing for as long as I've been playing, I've been on really good teams. You know, I've won trophies, and I've been on teams that don't win a game all season. So, you know, if you know your team's bad and you know, eventually you just have fun with it.
It's the mindset, right? It's like if he's got personal problems and he's feeling depressed and he's feeling down and, you know, he's not with it, how is he able to switch it off when he goes away on international duty and be you know, and produce? Okay, and how is it then when he comes back to Arsenal, he switches it back on again and he's all like moody and you know what I mean? You see him the way that he plays, there's no effort, it's lackluster. That's what I'm trying to understand.
Because he actually competitive. Yeah, exactly.
What's that?
Yep. Arsenal are competitive.
Yeah.
He actually has to put in a shift here, and what he does here matters. The results to this club matter. Like Ryan said, the Gabon national team, they're not qualifying for the World Cup. He's their bright spot. So he can go out and he can just play and have fun and do what he wants to do because he knows it's at the end of the day, it's not going to matter. And he's not going to bring 10 other guys into the World Cup. He's just
so he's not going through a bad patch of form then, is he?
No. I don't think
that's it then, right? If he's not going through a bad patch of form,
nope.
Then
I think it's a mix.
this guy's not got the right mindset to be the Arsenal captain. If he's able if he's able to just like switch off when he's getting 300 bags a week and just say, no, this ain't for me, then that's not good. You know, if it's not a bad run of form he's going through, it's time to move this geezer on.
I don't think it's that simple. I listen. I sorry, Rohan, you're not here, but I can't defend him. But I don't really want him here either. But again, it's just when
I think Rohan's trying to log back in as we speak.
But it's like, you know,
I'm watching.
It goes kind of back to when I used to play. When I was on a bad team, I know we were a bad team, and I didn't expect anything from us. I had more fun. I was joking around. I was laughing on the field. And then when things just happen naturally, I would score. I would do, you know, things. I would get an assist. You know, I would do these things because that's the name of the game. You know, when you play the game, a really bad team is going to have, and we've talked about this every podcast. Every team, it's the Premier League, so it's a tiny difference.
You're playing the game for free because you love to be there, right?
Yeah, no, I guess it's like,
you know,
well, I don't. Do they get paid a lot? Do they even get paid to the national team? I don't even know how that works. So, but I think it just goes down to he can have fun, kind of. I was gonna say lay his hair back, but he kind of, I don't know what he did to it a couple days ago.
He's still with us.
But you know, I just think he could kind of take a load off and just kind of do what he wants to do, and because but then it ought to even go further. The teams that they're playing aren't that good either, so it's like he's probably the one bright spot in the entire pitch out of all 22 players. So he can kind of relax, have a good time, and you know, I like to think I'm at my best when I'm very calm, cool, collected. When I'm competitive and like, oh, I gotta beat this guy and do this, I'm gonna fuck up. I'm gonna do dumb things.
Yeah, basically, then we can only get a game out of Aubameyang if you put him up front when we turn out against teams like Dundalk.
Yeah. But I mean, and that's the thing. Like when you play for a team that's, I don't even think they're gonna go far in the African Cup of Nations. I don't think they're that good. But and you go to a team that you're rebuilding, you're trying to get to the Champions League, trying to win Europa, and it's a lot of pressure. And it's not even just for him; it's for a lot of people. And then that's the name of the game.
That's why he's here, right? He's the guy that's going to do that for us. All those things that you just said. That's why we give them 300 bags a week.
Surely agree with you. That's why I don't think we should be paying him as much money, and we need to kind of. I don't know what we can do. I don't know if we could sell him, but again, I'm agreeing with you. But I just think that it's a mindset. I think it's just. Playing for Gabon is just, you know.
Do you guys think then, right, with the Aubameyang situation, and I've seen it in a few places, do you think that we're about to enter into another Ozil situation?
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be that bad, but I could see it being an issue. I don't think it's going to be Ozil bad where he's home playing Fortnite and building, because that's the other thing too. Ozil, he has a brand. He has a gaming team. He was in business with Flamini. He was doing all these things. So really, like, football kind of wasn't his first choice. It was kind of like, yeah, I'm playing for Arsenal, whatever, but I'm playing Fortnite streaming. I have my own gaming team. I have my own clothing line. He has his own brand. You know, he's got a lot of things going for him. So yeah, I think Aubameyang has things going for him, but I don't think he's willing to sacrifice his football for anything else. Granted, I know it's not like he's playing great anyway, but I don't think it's going to be. Like I said, I don't think it's going to be as bad as Ozil. But
I don't think it'll be as bad. I don't think it'll be as bad. But I think we're starting to see already that we regret the contract that he was given. I mean, I don't want him here next year. I don't want him. He does, if he's not scoring goals, he doesn't do anything else. He doesn't contribute. He's not an assist guy. He's not a playmaker. He's a one-trick pony. He's a goal scorer. And we can't, and Arteta can't figure out. Well, it's I'll be honest. I don't think this is okay. Here's where Arteta's to blame. You don't have
You
the
put
players.
Aubameyang in any good squad, he's gonna produce. You put him in Man City, you put him in. I'll even say Liverpool. I think he's gonna produce. It's because we don't suit him because we're not good.
You know why he'll do good for Man City or Liverpool? Because he'll turn up there like he turned up at Arsenal.
I don't know. I don't think so.
We'll be happy. It'll be a new chapter. It will be the old Aubameyang.
New scenery.
You remember what happened? You remember that? I remember the stories really clearly when we were linked with him about how he was finishing at Borussia Dortmund. A bad influence in the dressing room. He was spitting his toys out. I think he was turning up late as well. And then I remember thinking to myself, what are we buying here? We're not getting another moody bastard turning up. And I was a bit worried. But what did he do? Turned up with that big smile. Everything was cool in the gang. Happy days. He settled in. But now, look at it. The going's getting a little bit tough. I don't know why. I mean, we've rewarded the man with a contract and the armband. We've said to him, you see this magnificent club, Arsenal? Right now, you're the focal point. That's what the contract says. But then you have to look at the manager and think the manager hasn't really used him as a focal point. He's using a bit of like a squad player or someone that would, someone that wouldn't be as integral to the team as to the captain, the guy that's supposed to be scoring all of the goals, your highest paid player, the main man. He's not really been used in that way in my eyes.
That's you're spot on. Here's the thing. So do you blame Arteta for shoehorning in his system with a group of players that don't fit it? Or do you blame Aubameyang for not adapting to Arteta's system after being handed a new contract? So
I blame the club.
So you would blame Arteta in that.
No. I blame the club for they obviously had to make Arteta feel so comfortable to where I agree with what Indian saying. I think he's, I don't want to say comfortably, consistently making mistakes, but I think he just doesn't care. He's like, I'm going to bed my system in, and if these players want to buy in, they want to do this, they're going to play it, then yeah, I'll keep them. If they don't, then
but I do think that as a manager, I think you need to do that. So if that's what he's doing,
that's why I still support him. That's why I'm still supporting Arteta.
You can't.
You think I support 10th place? No.
You can't change managers every 2. We can't be Chelsea. We're not going to be Chelsea where we can go out and hope that £200 million every summer is going to fix our problems. So we either here again. You've got one foot over here. This is the whatever that line is in Greenwich. For those of you who are from England, Stan, you know what I'm talking about. What do they call that line in Greenwich that splits the Eastern Hemisphere and the Western Hemisphere? It's not the international date line. It's I don't know.
Greenwich Mean Time.
Greenwich, but yeah, you can stand in Greenwich and have one foot in the Eastern Hemisphere and one foot in the Western Hemisphere. And that's where we are right now. We don't know which hemisphere we want to live in, so we're straddling the line. We're trying to fix a problem with 2 different solutions, but we're only 50% on both solutions. Pick one, go with it, and if it doesn't work, okay.
But surely if you're Aubameyang, right, and you're at that point now where the club comes to you cap in hand and says, like, you're the main man, you're the captain, we're going to give you this big fuck-off contract so you'd be sweet as a nut. And if you're not happy with the way that you're being used at the club at that point, isn't that the point that you have that conversation? If at that point he didn't like playing out on the left, I'm sure at that point you say, okay, yeah, let's talk about the contract, but I'm not sure about me playing on the left, boss. I don't think you're getting the best out of me. Isn't that the point where you have that conversation? So he either didn't have that conversation because he was happy with the way he's being deployed, or he had that conversation and Mikel Arteta just said, yeah, sign. And now he's just doing what he wants. Maybe, again, that's another reason why Aubameyang's not happy. He sees himself having to track back and get into that left wing back position, and he's thinking to himself, what am I doing this for at the age of 32? I can just about see the goal from here. Do you know what I mean? Let alone get the ball in the back of the net. So does that dishearten you as a player? I'm just being plain devil's advocate.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? You're known as a goal scorer. You've just come back from international duty playing through the middle, and then there you are, you're being deployed in that position. There's been times in the season when You know, all right, Lacazette, you can kind of maybe think, okay, well, you know, we did spend a lot of money on this guy. But what about that time he played Willian through the middle? I mean, what's that all about? What is that? You know, do you remember?
No, I don't.
What's that all about?
Yeah,
I don't remember.
I can't remember who it was, but we played him through the middle.
Stan,
Not as a no. We played him as a 10. We played him as a 10, not through the middle. Not as a 9. We played him as a 10.
No, he was in that role. No, he played in that role, right? He played in the center of the two on either side of him, right?
I don't know what you're talking about.
No, he played. No, he played in the role that Odegaard's sitting in right now.
I'm gonna have to look it up. But also as well, you're getting passed over as well for someone like Eddie Nketiah as well. It can't be good for you. You're being shoved out there on the left. Why can't Eddie Nketiah go out on the left? If you want to shoe someone in, play your best players in their best positions, and then maybe put someone like Eddie Nketiah on the left if you want to give him some minutes or something. But why would you nullify your best asset? But then again, you have to remember, we all knew that Mikel Arteta had never done this job before. So if we were willing to accept that, then does that mean that we have to accept days like the ones that we're having, right? And are there going to be more?
There it is, Stan. It was against City. He was a false nine. Yep.
I don't remember that game at all.
Through the middle. And I was like, do you not remember that? That was when we were on here and I kept saying that Mikel Arteta is too cool for school. What is that all about?
Yep.
Remember, I remember that. I said he went to bed that night and he couldn't sleep because he was starting to overthink how he could outdo Pep. And he thought, I know, I'll play William through the middle. He'll never think of that.
Hey, hang on real quick.
He definitely didn't think of that.
Can we get a drum roll? Can I get a drum roll from you guys, please? Boom!
Oh!
There he is. Ladies and gentlemen, straight in from Not Another Arsenal podcast, Mike Hers is in the house. What's up?
What's going on, guys?
All right, Mike.
I'll tell you,
how's that for
that was like the best introduction ever. You were like way too kind for me, dude.
All right, so we bring in this schlep. No, I'm kidding.
That's better.
What? I'm already here.
There you go. See, Mike, he's getting it now. See, if he makes fun of himself, it's no fun for me to do it. So when he does it, if he makes fun of himself, then I won't make fun of him. So
there you go.
And
up,
just
man?
like that, Stan just left. Stan's
like, fuck, man. Bringing in Mike Hers into this. I'm
not here. I never agreed to this.
So it's not in Stan's contract. Yeah, all right. So give us your take on all this.
On which one, man? You guys have been covering a bunch of different.
We're all over the place.
I still didn't answer Tanner's question about playing the youth.
You
didn't.
Yeah, you didn't. Go ahead.
That question was 30 minutes ago.
It really was. Yeah, go ahead, Ryan.
So keep it as short as I could. We don't have our youth team isn't good. We're like mid-table, maybe top of the bottom half of the table. We're not good.
Yeah, I know that.
To be fair, Steve Bold's doing a real shitty job with it, but I don't think we have any players that are ready to make the jump. You could make an argument for Aziz and Balogun, but that's it. And I don't even think Aziz is ready. You know, we have our best players are probably Cottrell. What's his fucking name? I can never pronounce his name. Kurjan, maybe.
There you go.
Yeah.
They're good, but they're lightweight. They wouldn't stand a chance. They'll get eaten up in the Premier League.
Would we get relegated?
I mean, if we have
considering the youth that we have right now. So you keep ESR, you keep Bukayo Saka. I'll throw this out there. If the only purchase we made in the summer was Martin Odegaard, if we got him in permanently, even if we loaned him for another year, but we had him next year, and we filled in the holes with the youth, would we get relegated?
That's like two spots. It's like Aziz and Balogun and if all of our non-youth players are not getting hurt and playing not terrible, no. But it's like I said, the only two players that I'm, I guess, relatively excited about, but again, I don't think they're gonna really get game time, So I'm almost hoping we actually go. The only reason why I want to be in Europa next season is to see Aziz. I'm really excited.
Who's the other one?
Well, I mean, if Balogun's, I don't know what Balogun's situation is, so I can't speak for him. But to me, Aziz is like, he played. I think, I don't know if it was Mold or Dundalk. It could have even been Vienna. He played one game. He played 10, 15 minutes. I thought he was really good. He played. Who did he partner? He was a defensive midfielder, but he's more of a box-to-box guy. But yeah, he's really the only bright spot I see in our academy. A lot of guys are very raw. They make a lot of rash decisions. But it's just, it sucks because we're so far down this rebuild that we can't, like, I want to just say, hey, let's tear it up, start again. That's what we should have did. I mean, probably again when we probably left Highbury. You can't. We're too far gone now. So I know. I think we talked about this last show or 2 shows ago. Me and Stan were talking about. I know Stan said sell Lacazette and Aubameyang, start fresh from the striker position. I wish. I want to do that. I really do. We would just probably be facing the same problems that we are now. It wouldn't help us. It's tough because, again, it goes back to what I was saying about how I blame the club because I think they must have made Arteta feel so comfortable that he could make all these mistakes, do what he wants to do, big dick swinging. I think he knows he's not going anywhere unless he loses the dressing room, gets relegated. And I do think these players know he's smart. He knows what he's talking about. And again, it goes back to, I forget who said it. I think it was Raul said this. He's a good coach. A manager, I'm not too sure about. I think that's where I'm kind of getting lost with the whole Arteta thing. I think he's a great coach, one of the best coaches in the Premier League. Manager, no. Manager, I don't see it yet. We need more signings. We need to figure things out because right now what we have isn't working. Because we don't have the players. But
I honestly believe that the appointment of Mikel Arteta was based more than I would say 90% of it was on how much his salary was. You got to look at it, man. He's on before he took his pay cut before the pandemic. His salary is $5 million, and then if you look at Jose Mourinho, who the section of our fan base wanted, he gets paid $30 million. That's a big golfing difference, and I honestly believe that was one of the key factors of why Mikel got the job. Everton, look, he's not an Arsenal legend, right? If anything, he's an Everton legend. Everton had no interest in him. None.
Do you know what wages Unai was on when he was here? Because, because the rumors were, right? It was kind of unconfirmed, unconfirmed, where Arteta was lined up initially. And at the very last second, Unai impressed them with the PowerPoint presentation and just blew their mind. And they're like, we got to hire this guy. I assume Unai salary at that point in time was, coming off of PSG, 5 as well. 5 as well. All right.
I don't know. I just don't buy the cheap option argument. I just don't. I understand that he's cheaper and it gives you a leg to stand on because it is a fact. I just don't think that the club took that into consideration.
I think it's a bonus that he was cheaper.
Let's be logical and take out that he used to play for Arsenal. In what world does a club like Arsenal give their manager's job to someone that's never done the job before? Doesn't matter who he sat next to. Doesn't matter who he put cones out for.
It does. It matters because if he wasn't with Pep, if he, let's say, literally did it, or he managed, let's say he was the assistant coach at Dundalk, you really think Arsenal are going to hire him because he's cheap?
Would it have more experience for a start? I mean, it's
happened in the past.
I don't want to sound blunt, but I was 50-50 when he was appointed. He wasn't my first choice, but you know what I'm like. I will try and back the manager because I don't want a revolving door. Yeah. But the truth of the matter is, from my standpoint, it's a hell of a gamble for someone that's never done this job before to be given the reins of a club like Arsenal. Personally, don't get me wrong, I do like a bit of a gamble, but if it doesn't pay off, it's a little bit like me saying, if I said to my missus, right, I'm taking all the money out of the bank. I'm driving down to Vegas tonight. I'm going to put everything on black. She would kill me. She'd go mad. She wouldn't let me do it. But if I snuck out in the middle of the night and did it and came back and told her and showed her and I won, she'd be a little bit annoyed for a few seconds, but she'd be kissing and hugging me because the gamble paid off.
But I think that's our problem. We didn't gamble.
Well, here's the thing.
Go, Mike.
Let's assume it's a gamble, right? Right now, we're still in Europa League. We're still driving to Vegas, Stan.
Arsene Wenger, when he was appointed, was a gamble, but he'd already managed maybe 5 or 6 clubs in different continents, and even that was considered a gamble. I just think that we shouldn't be looking. Look, he's got training wheels on. He's going to make mistakes. I just don't think that we can afford. We can afford to be making these kind of mistakes because the mistakes are rookie mistakes. We're bigger than that.
Let me tell you what I think ownership's mentality on this is. So you asked the question when I disappeared for a few minutes about David Moyes, and that's that tweet from Patrick. That was brilliant, by the way. That was tremendous. One of the best things I've ever seen that dude tweet. That was absolutely brilliant. Do I think that David Moyes would be doing a better job here right now? Yes, I do. But I also agree with Ryan. In the long term, no. What you get with these managers, Allegri, Benitez, even David Moyes, these guys are old. They're old. They're not going to be here. They're not going to be here for a long. Even Carlo Ancelotti, he's not going to be at Everton in 5 years. I promise you, he's not going to be. I don't think he's going to be there in 3 years. They're going to move on. That's just the way that those guys in this business work. KSE, Kroenke Sports and Entertainment, are American-based. They're American, and their outlook on this situation is wholly American. We want to bring in a young manager, and this is where, when Ryan first said this, all those months ago, when Arteta was hired, Arteta's the project. Kroenke, KSE, who is it? Who are the coppers coming for?
Not it. Thanks, Stan. Bye, Stan. Any minute they're going to bust through that back door.
They want a young manager that they can have here for a long time. They don't want to now take Chelsea out of the equation. They don't want to do that. But how much longer do you think Pep's going to be at City? I wouldn't be surprised if City win Champions League this year. I wouldn't be surprised if he walked. That's just the way this business works. That's not the way Kroenke wants to do business. He wants a manager that's going to be here for a long time. And I am telling you, they are going to give him a long rope. They're going to give him a long lead as long as it doesn't devolve into relegation. If we were in a relegation battle right now, if we were still in 15th and we were like 4 points above the drop zone, he'd be gone. I think they'd get rid of him.
Yeah.
But he keeps us up. We're mid-table. This whole thing, this is a rebuild. It's a project. To put it in American terms, we've gotten in 1 draft. We probably need 3 in terms of collegiate draft. So take the summer transfer windows. Think of those like the drafts in American sports. Let's just use American football. Okay. 3 drafts. This is a 3 draft project. We need to go out. We need to get our quarterback. I don't know who that is. I think a lot of people thought it would be Thomas Partey to be the anchor in that midfield. I'm not sure that's it. But they need that one guy that's going to come in and stabilize the ship, and then they need to fill in here and there. And it might take another couple of summer transfer windows in order for this to happen. So as long as we're not in a relegation battle, they're going to stick with him as long as they feel they're seeing progress. But let's also remember, and let's look back over Arteta's tenure here. He gets hired 2 Decembers ago. He coaches because he was the coach. He coaches for 3 months, 2.5 months. And then what happens? Lockdown. Everything gets shut down. Everybody's like, oh, and then he got COVID. Okay, he got COVID. He lived. It wasn't debilitating for him, for crying out loud. He had a cold for 5 days. He had a case of the frickin' sniffles. It's like, oh my God, he beat COVID. Yeah. So did 99.5% of the other people that have frickin' gotten it. So relax. Anyway.
I think it's very noble, but okay.
I mean, for a guy like him, he's 39 years old. He's in great health. He's all right. He was going to get through it. But everything gets shut down. He has very little to no contact with the players during the shutdown. Then we come back, Project Restart, and it's just like everybody just expected us to be this world-beating team again. Then he has a summer transfer window. Finances were massively impacted by the shutdown. We got in one player that everybody wanted. That was the one player everybody wanted. We got in Thomas Partey. We brought Danny Ceballos back on loan or whatever. But I think we also need to look at the circumstances that have affected Mikel Arteta's tenure to this point. He hasn't had a full summer training session, a proper full summer training session. He'll get that this year. Yeah, but when you're trying to instill a system,
these are football players. They're professional football players. They know how to play football.
But he's trying to instill a system that a lot of these guys haven't played before.
Time. Oh, he's just come to the club from France. He's got to settle. What is he? A fucking trifle? He plays football. They play football. Whether it's coming from France or England. Look at Gabriel. We had to field him, right? Otherwise, you would have been given the same old thing. Where's Gabriel? Oh, he's got to settle. It's a new league. What happened? He played his first game, got man of the match, and scored a goal. I rest my case. It's football.
I want to answer this question. Stop the lockdown narrative. How do you explain David Moyes' rise then? David Moyes has done this for a long time. That's how you explain the rise.
And that's exactly those players, what we need.
Those players bought into his but what I'm saying,
they bought into his system. Keep going.
Because his system is based on the players. He doesn't. He
exactly. David Moyes came into West Ham and said, my system is going to fit these players.
Yes,
Arteta's coming in to establish a system here that the players don't fit right now.
Different. It's so different.
So I have a different perspective.
If he hasn't got the players to fit his system, in order to get points and get the club to where it needs to be, he should be able to do what David Moyes has done. Go in there, take a look at the situation and say, I know what I want to do, but until I can do that, I'm going to do this.
He doesn't want to do that.
Manager,
wait.
Running our club that knows how to make that kind of a decision.
It goes back to the
league. We're trying to get in the Champions League, and we've got a manager that doesn't know how to do that simple thing. That's not good enough.
Mike, let me say this real quick. It goes back to.
Do you think West Ham is going to be this high next season?
No. That's the point.
They don't want to be this high. They don't want to be this high now. They don't want Europe. They don't want to play.
This is legitimate. No, I go massive disrespect to Moyes, but this is what I kind of get from Moyes. From Unai Emery, I got this too. Their managers. You know what? I'll even use this guy as an example. Diego Simeone. He's in a group, in a club, where he has workers, just worker bees that their role is to shut up and listen to the manager. Unai Emery did great with a worker squad, Sevilla, won a ton of things. He upgraded it into a team with egos, superstars. Fuck you. I'm not going to run my ass off for you. Moyes made that big jump to United.
Yeah.
Big egos, superstars. Fuck you. I'm not running for you. So I think there's certain managers that fit a certain type of club. And I don't think we're as ridiculous as this sounds right now, Stan, because I do understand and appreciate that we are mid-table right now. We got superstar or diva type players, like we should be higher. So I don't think the message that Moyes could come in here and be like, hey, just run your ass off for me in a certain system. I think it's a different perspective in that sense. I don't think there's managers for certain jobs.
Behind the scenes at West Ham, they're in turmoil. They haven't got a happy harmony going on at board level. They're all over the place. Yet David Moyes has been able to blinker all of that away from the players and still be able to get a tune out of them. The point, I honestly think, someone said it in the chat earlier, excuses, and the amount of leeway that a lot of our fans are giving Mikel Arteta for a club like Arsenal, I I respectfully, I don't buy into it. I think we should be expecting a lot more. And as much as I want Mikel Arteta to succeed, because I don't want a revolving door of managers like Man United have had, I'm going to be waiting to see what everyone has to say when we get to September, October of this year, and he's gone through this summer's transfer market, and those players are in the squad, and a few more of the deadwood have departed, and we're languishing and still playing the kind of football that we're seeing now. I want to know what the reason will be then. I really hope I'm proved wrong, because obviously I want us to succeed.
So let me ask you this. Let me ask this question. So do you want immediate success right now, or do you want long-term stability and success?
Well, I can't have both.
You can't. We're so fucked. Because we're so fucked from the last regimes.
So what happens is this. So if you bring in the David Moyes, the Carlo Ancelotti, the Rafa Benitez, who are only going to be here for 3 years, that's not long-term stability. That's the Band-Aid on the shotgun wound, like Ryan had said earlier. That's the Band-Aid on the shotgun wound. What KSE wants with Arteta, and I'm not saying they're going to get it. I'm trying to dive into their mentality on this. What they want is a competitive team for the next decade, if not longer. And they want it to be here with Mikel Arteta, and they believe in, maybe blindly, you can argue that right now, but what they want is they want long-term success and stability. And right now they're willing to, as long as it's not a relegation fight, they're willing to write off this season, perhaps. Well, they are willing to write off this season, as evidenced by the fact that they haven't sacked him. They're willing to write off this season to say, next year is where you're going to start to be judged. Next year is where the project has to take hold, and we have to start seeing the results. You have to be in the top four. You maybe not winning the league, but you've got to be fighting for third place. At the very least, you've got to be fighting for third place. You have to be in that conversation next year, and we take it from there. They want it to be long term. Not, hey, you're going to come in here, you're going to fix the problem in 2 years, and that third year things start to go to shit again because your system doesn't work, and now we're going to sack you, and now we're going to bring in somebody else. Like you said, you don't want the revolving door at Chelsea.
I do think in modern football, having a manager, 10, 15, maybe 20 years for the likes of Arsene Wenger or even Sir Alex Ferguson, I think in modern football, a manager's tenure of that length is a thing of the past anyway.
And that could very well be.
I think that somewhere between 3. If you're lucky, you may get to 5 years with one guy. I don't think that we're going to see a manager. It's the way that you recruit to have that continuity. And I also think that's the managers want to move around a little bit more than be at one place. Especially if you've been successful. Like you just said, if Pep wins the Champions League, you would think, well, that's a nice time to stay at a club and continue building. But like you say, he'll probably walk away and look for another challenge. What
the Kroenkes want, and this is what the Kroenkes want, I don't know if it's a word that gets used over there, Stan, but it gets used, especially in American sports, it gets used a lot, dynasty. What the Kroenkes want is, you guys will laugh at me for it, but you'll get the example. What the Kroenkes want, is the New England Patriots.
There it is.
That's what they want. And I'm not, but I mean it. Think about it, Mike.
No.
22 years.
And maybe they should stick to American football and buy the American Patriots.
Well, I mean, they have the Rams, and that's what they're trying to do. But they want 20 years of a team that is always in that conversation to win the league. And they think right now that Mikel Arteta is the guy that's going to do it, but they have to sacrifice in the short term. They have to sacrifice a little bit of short-term success to get that long-term success and stability. I, for one, would sign up for that.
Tanner, can you do me a favor? Like Peter Renner, he has a comment right there. It says 7-8 up. So
until the club.
Yes, sir.
This one here.
So the club sort out their business mode model, I assume, as a better buying and selling and contracts they offer. We're not going to compete in the top, regardless of the manager. So this is kind of where I stand. You guys spoke about continuity just a little bit earlier in the podcast, and this is where I just feel this. this is what my mentality is. We are going to have to stick out with the team that the board establishes. Sooner or later, we're going to have to give that team time, because we went from Wenger not wanting a director of football, very much stuck in his own way. He leaves, gets replaced by Unai, right? Unai, they bring in Mislintat, Gazidis. I think Raul was going to be the solution. Immediately, so they come in with their own plan after Wenger had his own plan. We get this new board. Goes south quick. Mislintat starts fighting with Raul. That gets broken off. Gazidis goes to Milan. We're down to Raul. We know what happened with Raul and his shading dealings, right? And then we break up that again. We break that again. Now we're back to square one again. Edu and Arteta. So we are, yes. So we are currently, the way I look at it, I kind of look at things at a more broader perspective. And I'm thinking it's not unreasonable to say that Arteta dealt with some of Wenger's decisions. Now, for the people that love and respect Wenger, I am not placing the blame specifically on him. I'm simply saying that contracts linger for years. So, and as Tanner mentioned, it's a 3-year thing. This whole thing, he was never going to flip the entire squad in one summer and a January window. It was never going to happen. It was always going to take time. So we are currently at this point in time shifted a bunch of pricks that we literally have to pay to leave the club, because we put them on such high contracts that nobody wanted to take them off our hands. Plus, they're pricks, right? I mean, look at what's going on in Schalke right now with Mustafi.
Oh my God!
Right? I memean, look, Ozil has done the equivalent of the square root of fuck all in Turkey since he left. So it's. I just, this is my perspective, and I know that patience is not the name of the game, and I saw a lot of people said immediate success. I just don't see us getting immediate success in the sense that Arsenal is not going to go out this summer and spend 300 million. We're not Chelsea. So this is what I could tell you, Stan. If we are 10th next season, I'll be with you. I'll be questioning the hell out of Arteta, because I won't have an explanation. But I think he did a massive amount of legwork in the sense of kicking out those players, selling certain other players. I don't look at Holding renewing his contract, or even Chambers is rumored to be renewing his contract. I don't look at that specifically as, oh, they're Arteta's player now, we want to keep them. We are making sure we do not make the same mistakes again. Why would we let Holding, an English player with Bretix, go down to its last year or two? We right now, by renewing Holding, we could sell him for more. We have more leverage all of a sudden. Chambers, we have more leverage. So I don't get hooked up so much that, oh, these guys, these younger players got a contract extension, because it could be very well the club is finally, after almost a freaking decade, learning the lesson and extending a contract to a player that still has value because he's in his mid-20s. So overall, the way I see it, that the players that have been brought in, I'm not going to even include the players that were brought up within the youth system like Saka and Rowe. But if you look at the players that we are targeting currently, all our targets, other than William, which was a huge clusterfuck, and I cannot defend that. The only thing we could all say here is nobody expected William to be this bad. Yeah, as far as like he just fell off a cliff. Partey, I mean, unfortunately, we didn't have him for the majority of the season, right? But after them two, Tierney, young, Odegaard, granted on loan, but he knew what we needed as a creative midfielder, brought him. Gabriel, young. I'm forgetting another gentleman that he brought in. Sorry. Now I'm thinking about Pepe. He's young as well. But my point is, if you look at the work that Edu and Arteta are looking at, and you're looking at the players that we are being linked with, they're younger profile players. Our younger players are now getting contracts earlier on instead of getting down to their final year of their contract. So I just overall think that this team that we currently have is just learning from past mistakes. That's how I interpret the club moving as a whole. So we have a crazy amount of assets that we could actually sell this upcoming transfer window. And if they do manage to move them on, thankfully, Mainsley, Bellerin, Nelson, Willock, Gwendo, I don't know about Gwendo's wages. These are all English, or not Gwendo, sorry, young players that could be sell for a profit that we won't struggle selling because they're not on 120K. So this summer is going to be absolutely massive. The majority of moves that the club has been doing in the last year or two, it's going to be a very, very slow process because it's impossible to handle this in one transfer window. So one transfer window goes by, we screw the pooch in the sense that we don't screw the pooch. We just simply cannot put in that amount of work in one transfer window. Milan tried it a few years ago where they bought like literally 10 outfield players. And that season went horribly wrong. Granted, structure and everything is different. But I see it like this almost in the sense that, okay, we had our chance in the summer. We have to write out the season in the sense that we can't just be like, well, fuck, why didn't he sell this guy? Why didn't he sell this guy? He should bin this guy. You could say he should bin X, Y, and Z player all season, but now is not the time to sell the player. So we just need to, kind of stick it out. So come summer, I understand Bellerin probably leaving. A ton of players are probably leaving. So I'm looking at it this then is that from super optimistic here, Stan, is I could see the club with Edu, Arteta, and Law. Was it Dick Law? Who's
Dick Law? Everybody getting a good chuckle.
And then we also brought in the gentleman from
Tim something or other. The
there you
lawyer.
go.
Yeah.
Garlic.
Tim Lewis.
Dick Garlic.
Dick Garlic.
Now we're going with Dick Garlic.
Richard Garlic. That was the guy. Everything the club has been doing in the last year, in my opinion, has been moving towards the direction we want to go in. All right, Stan, you nodded about 100 times during my little monologue.
Yeah, I can't wait for this.
I was at the stage where I was almost at the stage I was going to fucking put my hand up. Right? I was like, put your fucking hand up to get in.
Can I speak now?
I'll mute myself now, Stan.
And it's not going to take that long either. My rebuttal to that is that what you just said, I think, is a very microscopic approach and view to the Arsenal Football Club. You're talking about as if myself and other people that may be in a similar camp are looking at an immediate fix. But the much bigger picture is this. We moved to the Emirates in 2006. And I'm just remembering the promises that were made to us as fans from the hierarchy when we moved from Highbury to the Emirates, and the reasons that they told us why we were doing that move. And this is now 2021. It still hasn't transpired. Remember what they told us, that we would be able to compete with people like Bayern Munich and all of that. What happened in the subsequent years? We got our pants pulled down by 10 goals over 2 legs. So this is not me just thinking about now. This is me getting to the end of my tether from 2006. Because I've been waiting from 2006 to see this big rebuild and this brand new Arsenal. And I think at the moment, we're probably in our 5th or 6th rebuild. That's kind of how I see it. So, no, there's a bigger picture here. And this isn't just about the here and now for me. This is myself getting to the stage where I'm sick of hearing it. Because when it comes to paying lip service, if Arsenal played lip service for like a job, we'd have won the World Cup at it. That's how good they are. And I don't want to hear it anymore. I want to see it now.
To be fair, we took every shortcut imaginable in rebuilding the 4 or 5 times that you were talking about. Buying Petr Cech, buying, I don't want to say it's shortcuts for rebuild, but like buying the Czechs, the Lucas Perez's, the panic buys, Lichtensteiner to help coach. That's just how it is. And I could not agree with you more, Mike. And the question I'll have for you guys is, let's say we bring in Moyes and Salati. Where do we finish? top 4, we get a Champions League, and then get kicked out in the group stage. If maybe we'll get out of group stages because there are still some cruddy teams. We make it out of group stages and then get embarrassed by a Barcelona, Real Madrid, Bayern at 10-2. That'll probably that's how I foresee an Ancelotti and Moyes appointment. Yeah, we'll be a little better, but you got to realize this team is not good. He may sneak us into 4th place, and that's only because everybody else wants to drop points and nobody wants top 4. The scum just dropping points left and right. Thank you, Joe Willick. Chelsea, they just recently lost.
Got 5. Look, we just lost 3-0 to Liverpool at home. Imagine Chelsea. You just lost 5-2 to West Brom.
So it's
okay. One of those teams is going to get relegated this year. The other team's the defending champs. Perspective. Anyway, sorry, Ryan.
No, I don't know. I just think that Moyes, Benitez, yeah, they may sneak into 4th, which I only because other teams will drop points. But that's it. We'll get kicked out. We'll get embarrassed in Champions League. I don't want that. I'd rather take this slow rebuild.
Yep, that's where I'm at, because this team right now ain't ready to go into the Champions League.
Our team isn't good. I don't know why people don't figure this out.
Wholeheartedly at the beginning of the season, wholeheartedly disagreed with you on that point. Well, and we are.
You saw
Yep. And here we are. The fact of the matter is this, in my opinion. So I shouldn't say fact, because if it's my opinion, it can't be fact. My opinion is, I would rather, again, I think I get what Stan is saying, and I'm with you on coming to the end of your rope with this. I agree with you there. But like Ryan said, you've got to look at the circumstances and the shortcuts that have been taken, and just the way that business has been run at this club for the last 15 years. And now they're finally, in my opinion, starting to get it right. I think. Now, again, I could be wrong. I could be way off base on this.
Could be wrong. It's true.
But give me the consistency of being second, competing for the title. Maybe we fall to 3rd, bad run of form, whatever the case may be, but we're constantly top 4. Give me the glory days where we're constantly in Champions League. We're constantly in the top 4 battling for the league, and get me that Champions League trophy rather than, hey, go do it now, but then shit the bed for the next 5 years, because that's what they've been trying to do. To me, what they've been trying to do is, we need to figure out how to win the Champions League now. Fuck next year. That is a plan to fail.
There's no resale value in a player like Aubameyang at the moment. There's no resale value in Willian. There's no resale value in a David.
Well, define resale value on Aubameyang.
Sorry?
Define resale value on Aubameyang.
Well, it's going to be a pittance, right?
Compared to what we spent on him?
Yeah, it's going to be
half.
It's going to be a pittance. And I'd like to know as well how much money we've spent since we moved to the Emirates as well. Since 2006, when I see people blaming the Cronkies and giving it, that we've been at Oliver Twist, going out with our begging bowl, asking if we can please have some more. I do not buy into that at all. We've been up there with the best of them when it comes to coinage. It's the people that have been spending the money. When Ivan Gazidis left Arsenal, how did they go about appointing his successor? They asked Gazidis, and he just turned around, looked at what we had, and goes, "Yeah, right, round.
Go with him. Yeah, go with him.
Take that guy. Take that guy, because my plane's on the tarmac, and I need to get out of here, man.
Right.
Shit, and it's no longer my problem."
And what he should have done? He should have opened the door to whatever room they were in and just grabbed the first person that walked by. Yeah, that's what he should have done. They'd have done a better job.
It could have been Gunnosaurus. Could have been Gunnosaurus if he was walking around at the right moment. And this is how we've been making our decisions. And I was listening to I can't remember whose podcast it was. It was Arsenal Fan Circle with James Rowe, and I asked him about Vinay. I said, do you think Vinay Venkatesham is someone that is qualified for the job that he has? His job title, he's like the general manager stroke CEO. Is he qualified for that job? And he's like, no, it's a job for the boys. And this is where we're at now. For me, I still think Edu is tainted a little bit with the stench from what went on with Raul. If you're going to move on Raul, they should have moved a pair of them on. So, as I say, and someone put it in the chat earlier, you know, we were sold a dream 16 years ago and it hasn't been fulfilled. And I'm kind of like thinking to myself, well, you know, how long is this going to go on for? You know, we've been spending the money, you know, and someone, you know, you've got people out there saying, well, all we need to do is we need to go out there, you know, we need to outsmart the market and really start scouting some really good players. That's not going to fucking happen because we ain't got any scouts anymore. We deem that to be surplus to requirements. So are we just sat there with Football Manager and using the attributes and the traits of what we see of players and their star ratings and saying, yeah, let's go and get that guy? Because
I mean that's what I'd be doing if I were in Edu's shoes.
You know what?
I'd be using the FIFA ratings.
It's
well,
so
wait a minute. Hey,
It's
look
so
at this
accurate.
dude. The thing says is showing great potential. So let's look at him.
You know what, Tanner, you'd probably end up doing a lot better as well. That's the thing. You probably would.
I think there's.
Go ahead, Mike.
No, I think I figured out where Stan and some gentlemen in the chat and we see things very differently in the sense that Stan mentioned since we moved to the Emirates what we were promised. There's a few other people that agreed with him in the chat room. I understand 100% what you said. I mean, because that's what they were sold us. Now, I'll say this: I don't see in any world where we're better off financially with a smaller stadium. For one, so the move, I think just financially it had to happen sooner or later. But my more to the point where I was going to bring up where Stan backtracks all the way to Emirates, right, and said, "Hey, we were sold the dream here." I look at it as crazy as this sounds to you, Stan, when they put in Unai with the board to support him. That was I look at that as new era. I look at now Arteta, Edu, Vinay, Josh Kroenke, not so much Stan, new era. So I feel if I'm judging the group of people that are working on the club currently right now, I can't backtrack 16 years ago because 16 years ago none of those people are here, and 16 years ago for whatever it's worth, Stan didn't even own the club outright when we moved.
Kroenke, not you, Stan.
Yeah.
Or did I?
Or done. I heard Stan and El Luchador are joining forces. They might be planning a takeover with the African oil tycoon. So I know that this sounds extremely silly to a lot of people because a lot of people look at Arsenal Football Club as a linear thing. They're like, well, this is what the club is telling us. The way I look at it is when they gave Wenger the golden handshake, that was them trying to correct something. When they sacked Unai and they brought in Edu, that was them trying to correct it. Raul got sacked, club trying to correct it. So I can't tell you that this is how they functioned the whole 16 years. But my point is, I guess, is every time there's a change of team for the board to move the team forward, I don't feel like I could beat that team over the head with the crap that Gazidis promised 10 years ago, because I feel like it's not a fair shake for the current team. So because of that, I guess that's the biggest change of perspective for us is I understand what you're saying. They told us we're going to compete with Bayern Munich. And I don't know if anybody watched this lately. We're not competing with Bayern Munich. I'm simply stating that a corporation a business goes through really shitty periods. They change head figures in the club in order to change the direction of the business. Essentially, I know nobody wants to. We're a football club, but it's a business now, right? That's what the sport has turned into. Edu, Arteta, Vinay, Richard, these are the guys in charge of steering the ship. So I guess, look, I kind of saved my disappointment until the end of the era. Like I was, as silly as that sounds, I was really hopeful for Unai. But, it got to a period where the players, you could kind of just see it in the players. With Arteta, at least I get the idea that he hasn't lost the locker room yet, is what I could tell you. And I know that the Pool game was a shit performance, but just a week or two prior to that, the West Ham game took place. So I don't see a team trailing 3-0 and coming back the way they did and almost winning the game, and then for somebody to tell me, oh, the players don't care about the manager. If the players didn't care about the manager, it would have ended up 4-0, and it would have called West Ham would have just won the game. So I don't think he's lost the locker room yet. So that's I just wanted to get that in, because your perspective and my perspective, I think that's the main thing in which we change, where you look at the thing more, the club direction more as a whole since we moved to the Emirates, and I look at it like it doing that or the adjustment to steer the ship in the right direction. The only problem is between our aging squad, the dickheads that we had, the contracts, that ship, it wasn't exactly a tugboat. It was the fucking Titanic that we're trying to move. So
that thing that's stuck in the Suez Canal. That's what it was.
let me bring it more forward then. Let's bring it nearer to where we are and away from 2006 then. And this is a question that Ryan's going to be able to answer for me, because I'm not sure of the answer. So let's look at Sven Mislintat. Ryan, what club did he go to after Arsenal? And can you tell us what was that club doing? Where were they? And where is that club? And what are they doing today?
I feel like you're asking me this question and you already know the answer, which is I don't normally like this. Yes. So
you just boy. All right. Here's your opportunity, Babe Ruth. Smack it out of the ballpark. Let's go.
Okay. Yeah. So Sven went to my boys in Germany, in Stuttgart, and they were in Bundesliga too. They got promoted. Now they are in was it Bundesliga 1 or I think it's just the Bundesliga.
Just the Bundesliga.
And yeah, they're fighting for Europa League spot. I think there's.
Do you think their upturn in their luck in that time has anything to do with the influence of Mislintat? I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, I mean they recruited smart, they recruited young. They got a lot of young guys that can do a job, and they all fit a system. Stuttgart likes to play a back three, and they're weird. They legit play three in the back. It's very weird. And I said this. Was it you, Tanner? I think I did say this to you. And I said it to a bunch of people when I love talking about Stuttgart. I should probably start a Stuttgart podcast, but they play the way we want Arsenal to play. They play free-flowing football, very attractive, pretty football. They make runs. They fight for every ball. It's insane. They run 100% to every single ball, which is like something that I'm not used to seeing, I guess, as being an Arsenal fan. But watching them is a breath of fresh air. I watched them play over the weekend. They played Werder Bremen, and probably one of their worst games of the season. They won 1-0. But even just watching them play, and they were just everywhere, fighting for every ball, playing for each other. And it's nice to see. But yeah, Sven did a really good job there. I've got on record multiple times and said I was very upset when.
Do you think that we'd be in a better place today if he had remained?
I'm asking you, right? I don't know, because he recruited Socrates for us. So
every time
he's made some questionable decisions for us. Now
Liechtensteiner again.
Yeah. Now, do I want to chalk it up as kind of like almost like to my Aubameyang argument? Was the team too big for him? Was because it was such a big club, big prestigious club as Arsenal, he kind of felt he had to answer questions now and recruit for now. Whereas Stuttgart, let's get this team up and running. We'll get some younger guys that can do a job for us, in a couple of years. Maybe we'll get into the Premier League. Maybe we'll get into the Bundesliga, whatever. We'll see what happens. He kind of was a little more, I don't want to say he was nonchalant about it, but it was probably more of a project for him, but it was more of he had less to really worry about. If you failed at Arsenal, it would have been horrible. You fail at Stuttgart, fine, it's okay. I mean, they were in a really bad situation before, so I mean, he's done really well, really good things, and I'm excited as a Stuttgart fan because I'm lucky, I guess. But yeah, I don't know because, like I said, he recruited some pretty questionable people for us. So I don't really know what the answer is. I don't know what to do. I was still upset when Sven left, even knowing who he recruited, just because he has a knack for finding the right players, and I think, in my opinion, with him in Arsenal, he just tried to help us now. Because I think, fell in the same boat as we all did, kind of what we're all arguing about right now, is we wanted just immediate fix. So, yeah, let's get Lichtsteiner in. He could play as a backup right back. He could teach Bellerin how to play defense. Like, you kind of want to check – you want to check all the boxes with one player. Instead of recruiting a coach, you have a player that has experience. He's a captain of Juventus. He's won big trophies. And he's defensive right back, which at the time we kind of needed, and Bellerin doesn't know how to play defense. So perfect. Sign him up. Socrates, old school center back, loves to put a challenge in. But he's a good defender. I still, to this day, I don't think Socrates is as bad as people made him out to be. I thought he was a very old school defender. But again, he didn't offer what we wanted to do. We wanted to play at the back. That's the English way, what they say. And we wanted to ball carrying center backs, which we all know Socrates is not. But you have someone like Socrates who will celebrate a tackle like he scored a goal, which is something I actually love. So I don't know. Were they the wrong decisions? I mean, I guess in hindsight, yeah, but I could kind of see where they were going. I think they were just trying to check too many boxes off. And I don't necessarily blame Sven. I kind of blame the club. I think the club gave unrealistic expectations in the fact that, like, hey, we want to be cheap. We want to make quick fixes now. What can we do? Well, I know a guy that played for a big club. He won a lot of trophies. I think he was a captain for them at one point, and he's a very defensive right back, and he could help out our young offensive right back who we really want to get. And at the time, I was campaigning for Bellerin to be captain. I loved Bellerin. So, I mean, I think their hearts are in the right place, but again, you can't. It's not something you should be like, oh, we're gonna buy one player and he's gonna solve 4 of our issues. It's not gonna happen.
So let me jump in here real quick because we are at almost 2 hours and 10 minutes, gents, and I got to tell you, I'm having a good time with this. We've got 50 watching live right now. I'm having a good time. Anybody got to go? Does anybody want to keep going, or do we want to cut it off? I'll leave it up to you guys.
I do got to go. I have a bedtime tonight, but
you have a bedtime tonight?
Yeah.
Got to eat, Stan. Is that what?
Eat.
Yeah. All right. So,
but I'm willing to, I'll talk for a couple more minutes.
Yeah. Well,
right now,
I've exhausted Stan with my nonsense tonight.
I loved it.
Do you know, all it is it's just a different perspective. And it's a difference of, it's a different way of looking at it between you and I.
Yeah.
That's all it is, really. I'm sure that we all want us to be, we're all going in the same destination. We all want to end up at the same place. I just think that some of us may have different ideas of how we're going to get there.
Yeah. And
sure.
Look, and at the end of the day, nothing was ever accomplished in a room full of yes men. Right? You put 10 guys in, you put 10 people in a room, and if if one guy says, "Hey, what about this?" and everybody says, "Yep," what have you done? Nothing. You've done absolutely nothing. So disagree. Not that we're going to fix Arsenal's problems. Hey, Arsenal, if you're watching, maybe we could give us a shot. What's the worst that can happen?
Can I just answer this quick question from? Is it Sharaya? Stan, can we have your thoughts on Gasparini from Atalanta? Never heard of him. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't pay attention to world football enough to know, these man. I'm sure some of these managers are great. But you put him in a different league. He's never managed in the Premier League. So you're how do you know the job they're going to do? I keep hearing all this. Allegri's never managed in the Premier League, but everybody, Allegri, we want Allegri. You're going to hate Max Allegri in 2 years.
And it's so funny, too. Everyone's like, I miss attractive football. Allegri plays
not attractive football. football at all.
His football is so boring.
Diego,
you guys should be like, oh,
Diego
bring
Simeone.
back Unai. Bring back Unai.
I keep hearing like Diego Simeone. People want to see, Diego Simeone. Give me him. But we want to see free-flowing, attractive, attacking football. And you want Diego Simeone? So now you're just spouting names of managers that are in the Champions League. That's what that is. That's all that I like. If you're going to spout a name from a manager in a different league, at least watch their games. At least watch their games so that you don't come in and look like an idiot. Not any of you guys. Maurizio Sarri. Nope. Sorry. Don't want him. Don't want him. He's not good in the locker room at all. That was proven at Chelsea. Why do I want him? There's another Chelsea reject. Don't want him at all. So what I want, if there were a manager from another country, I'll give you two names. I like watching them play. I think they would do a job here. I don't think they're either one are realistic, and I'll tell you why. Erik ten Hag from Ajax.
Yeah.
The job that he does, first of all, the job that club do with their youth.
Brilliant.
It's unbelievable.
Fantastic.
I don't think he's realistic because I think he's earmarked for Bayern Munich. I think he's staying at Ajax until that Bayern Munich job becomes available again. I think that's his goal, and that's it. So I would love to see him here. I don't think it's realistic. The other one, Julian Nagelsmann at RB Leipzig. I don't think that is realistic either because he's doing at Leipzig exactly what I think Arteta is trying to do here. When Nagelsmann got the job a year or two later, because he was the next big thing. Julian Nagelsmann was the next big thing in the world of managers, and he was at Leipzig, and he said, I'm not leaving here. And I'm not saying that look, he said all the right things, but he said, I'm not leaving Leipzig. I want to build this into a powerhouse. God bless him, because that's what I want to see happen here. I want to see a manager come in and lay down a foundation that even if Arteta, like you said, Stan, there's a shelf life on these guys. And in today's world of football, 5 years? You get 5 years out of a manager, you've done pretty well. Well, at least in terms of longevity. Anyway, but I have higher hopes than that, and I hope Arteta is the guy because I don't want to keep going through this process of trying to find that guy. But I want a young manager with that can see himself staying here for a long time, like Julian Nagelsmann at Leipzig. And that's the thing. And I will say this about Nagelsmann: you don't ever hear his name come up in manager searches with big clubs because I think he's settled and happy and content at Leipzig to continue to try to build that squad into the house that he wants. But those are two names that I would love to see here if it couldn't be, if it's not going to be Arteta. So, anyway, sorry, I went off on a tangent there. Mike, thanks for jumping in here with us, man. Really appreciate it.
Dude, always a pleasure. Thanks for having me, man.
Man.
I was up listening to you gentlemen, as I always do on a Tuesday night, and I was like, oh crap, there's a spot open. I saw poor Rohan had to cut out, and I was like, hey, hi, I'm available. Like,
dude, hi, winky face.
The podcast whore that I am. So
I've had so Rohan has, I believe he said to me, he has strep throat, and I've had strep throat once in my life. It was the summer before my freshman year of high school, and I'm telling you, that is the absolute sickest and the worst that I have ever felt in my life. Like, it hurt to live. That was the kind of pain I was in. I will never forget it. Close the blinds. I needed dark, total silence, and it hurt like my body, everything. It hurt to live. It hurt to breathe. That's how bad it was. So, Rohan, get well soon, man. Please. Mike, give us a final word. Give us a final thought.
I want to say trust the process just to piss off all your chat room because I see
you little fucker.
Let's go.
It's going to be a slow rebuild, and patience is one of the most least popular things in our lifetime nowadays. And I simply look at it like this: it's going to take more than one window. We're going on our second real window. And all I can say is please be patient. And I know that all of you, even though disagree or no, not disagree in the sense that we want success, but we just have different perspective, as Stan put it out. We are still in the Europa League, gentlemen. So fingers crossed. We don't know how this whole conversation could be made, quite frankly, irrelevant in a month's time. And I know that might sound crazy, but listen, this is what we know. So far, so good against United as far as Arteta's record goes, right? And then we're playing a relatively weakened team, not only because Slavia Prague is not prime Liverpool, but their center defender is missing. Also, their goalkeeper is also injured, so they're going to play an 18-year-old player that I believe this is going to be an 18-year-old goalkeeper that's going to have his third appearance for the club Thursday. So there's reasons to be optimistic that we can make it into the next round, and you never know, man. Football is a crazy sport, so for all we know, we might fast track sooner than we thought. Here's hoping, because I know one thing for sure, even though we have different perspectives, we all want a trophy. We all want the team to win, no matter what. So, come on, you Gooners.
Ryan, final thoughts?
Ralph Ragnick, director of football. It was fun.
I'd take it. And I'd take it in a heartbeat. Yep, absolutely.
That's it.
That's it. That's your final thought.
Sweet.
I'm gonna also.
I was like, wait, what happened?
No, I also just want to precursor everybody. Don't be shocked if Saka's our left back on Thursday.
Yeah.
I actually don't. I don't hate it. We have so many wingers we could put out. I do not hate it. Don't hate it.
Stan, before I come to you, Mike, go ahead. Real quick. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Thanks.
I forgot to throw that out there. Wherever
you know what?
Find you.
I always want to make sure, because I never want to abuse anybody's platform with my own shenanigans. So
do it up, man.
Just out of respect, I need to ask. But yes, I also have a podcast called Not Another Arsenal Podcast. We're on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Spotify, iTunes. We're pretty much a once a week podcast because of our crazy schedules, but we have a lot of fun on it. The very last podcast that we posted was a take it or leave it. It was during the international break. Really, we haven't had time to talk about the Liverpool game. If you guys want to check it out, it's a ton of laughs. It's nothing relevant to our current form or anything. It's just three friends having a really good laugh of a bunch of take it or leave it that range from crowning Aubameyang a club legend to Arteta sticking with the club for 10 years. We got really crazy. So it's just a bunch of laughs. So if you guys can, I appreciate you checking it out. Not Another Arsenal Podcast. Thank you.
Great stuff. Stan, excuse me. Sorry.
Well, look, listen, I need to get out of here, right? Because I've got the car warmed up and I'm going to bomb down to Vegas and I'm putting
nice.
Black. I'm going to put it all in black and I'll be back next week to tell you how I got on.
Nice one.
Depending if you come back, we'll know.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's it for us, guys. We're going to get out of here. This was good footy talk for sure. I had a lot of fun with this tonight. Trying to think if I missed anything.
There's one more thing. Get your wallet cat and stick a $5 into the kitty to get Tony Turner a new left peg.
There it is. Link is in the description below still. So we're still working on that. Make sure you guys go down there and donate. Like Stan said, drop a $5. Whatever you can do would be greatly appreciated. So,
do you know what the final word should be tonight? It's time to go. Respect to club.